Okay. Today, I will talk to you Google DNS. I means Google Public DNS. Get started. Configure your network setting to use Google Public DSN. When you use Google Public DSN, you are changing your DSN switchboard operating from your ISP or Google Public DNS. In most cases, the dynamical host configuration protocol DHCP automatically configures your system to use the IP addresses of your ISPs domain name servers to use Google Public DNS. You need to specialty change the DSN settings in your operating system or device to use the Google Public DNS IP addresses. The producer to changing your DNS settings varies according to operating system and version, Windows, Mac, Linux, or Chrome OS. Or the device, computer, phone, or router. You give general producers here that might not apply for your OS or device. Consult your vendor documentation and authoritative information. Depending on your system, you may also have the option of enabling a new privacy-oriented feature called DNS over TLS. This feature provided privacy and security for the DNS messaging sent between your device and Google DNS services. Details on configuring this optional feature are in specific section for each system. Important, before you change your DNS settings to use Google Public DNS, be sure to write down the current server addresses to setting on a price or paper. It is very important that you keep this number of backup proposed in case you need to revert to them at any time. You also recommended that you print this page in the event that you encounter a problem and need to refer to this introduction. Google Public DNS IP addresses. The Google Public DNS IP addresses IPv4 are as following: 8.8.8.8 or 8.8.4.4. The Google Public DSN IPv6 addresses are as following: 2001 into a forward 60 into forward 60 into 8888, or other 2001 into forward 60 into forward 60 into 8844. You can use either of this as your primary or secondary DNS server. You can configure Google Public DNS addresses on either IPv4 or IPv6 connection, or both for IPv6 only networks with a NAT64 gateway using the 64 into FF9B into /96 prefix. You can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of Google Public DNS IPv6 addresses, providing connectivity to IPv4 only services without any other configuration. Change your DNS services settings, because The interaction differ between different versions relies on each operating system. You only give one version as an example. If you need specific introduction for your operating system version, please consult your vendor documentation. You may also find answer on your user group page. Many systems let you to specific multiple DNS services to be connected and priority order. In the following introduction, we provide step or to especially only the Google Public DNS services as the primary and secondary server. To ensure that your setup currently uses Google Public DNS in all cases. Windows DNS settings are specific in the TCP/IP properties windows for the selected network connection. Example, changing DNS server settings on Windows 10. Go to the control panel, click Network and Internet, Network and Sharing Center, change adapter settings. Number 3, select the connection for which you want to configure Google Public DNS, for example. To change the settings for an internet connection, right-click the internet interface and select properties. To change the settings for a wireless connection, right-click the Wi-Fi interface and select properties. If you are promoted for an administrator, password or confirmation, type the password or provided confirmation. Number 4, select the network tab under the connection. Use the following item. Select Internet Protocol version 4 TCP/IPv4 or Internet Protocol version 6 TCP/IPv6 and then click Properties. Click Advanced and select the DNS tab. If there are any DSN server IP addresses listed there, write them down for future reference and remove them from these windows. Click OK. Number 7, select use the following DNS server addresses if there are any IP addresses listed in the preferred DNS server or alternate DNS server. Write them down for future reference. Number 8, replace those addresses with the IP address of the Google DNS services. For IPv4 8.8.8 and or 8.8.4.4. For IPv6 into 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8888 and or 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8844. For IPv6 only, you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead for the IPv6 addresses in the previous point. Number 9, test that your setup is working correctly. See test your new settings. Number 10, repeat the procedures for additional network connection you want to change. Mac OS DNS settings are specific in the network windows. Example, changing DNS server setting on Mac OS 10.15. Click Apple menu, System Preference, Network. If the lock icon in the lower left-hand corner to the Windows is locked, click the icon to make changes, and when prompted to authenticate, enter your password. Number 3, select the connection for which you want to configure Google Public DNS, for example. To change the setting for a Wi-Fi connection, select Wi-Fi and click Advanced. To change the setting for an internet connection, select Build an Internet and click Advanced. Number 4, select the DNS tab. Number 5, click plus to replace any selected address with or add the Google IP addresses at the top of the list. For IPv4, 8.8.8.8 and or 8.8.4.4. For IPv6, 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8888 and or 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8844. For IPv6 only, you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of the IPv6 addresses in the previous point. Click OK, apply. Number 7, test that your setup is working correctly. See, test your new setting. Number 8, repeat the produce for additional network connection you want to change. Linux. In most modern Linux distribution, DNS settings are configured through Network Manager. Example, changing DNS service server settings on Ubuntu. Number 1, click Settings, Preference, Network Connection. Number 2, select the connection for which you want to configure Google Public DNS, for example. To change the settings for an internet connection, select the Wild tab and then select your network interface in the list. It is usually called ETHO. To change the settings for a wireless connection, select the wireless tab, then select the appropriate wireless network. Number 3, click Edit and in the window that appears, select the IPv4 setting or IPv6 setting tab. Number 4, if the selected method is automatic DHCP, open the drop down and select automatic DHCP addresses only instant. If the method is set to something else, do not change it. Number 5, in the DNS servers field, enter the Google Public DNS IP addresses separated by the comma. For IPv4 8.8.8.8 and or 8.8.4.4. For IPv6 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8888 and or 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8844. For IPv6 only, you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of the IPv6 addresses in the previous point. Number 6, click Apply to save the change. If you are prompted for a password or confirmation, type the password or provided confirmation. Number 7, test that your setup is working correctly. See, test your new settings. Number 8, repeat your produce for additional network connection you want to change. If your distribution does not use Network Manager, your DNS settings is specified and etc resolve.com.conf. Example, changing DNS service settings and a defense server. Number 1, edit. Number 2, if you any name server lines appear, write down the IP addresses for future reference. Number 3, replace the name server lines with or add the following lines for IPv4. Like here is picture IPv4 or IPv6. Your settings is now currently and hit the settings and current the settings. For IPv6 only, you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of the above IPv6 addresses. Number 4, save and exit. Number 5, restart any internet clients you are using. Number 6, test that you set up is working correctly. Use your test new setting. Additionally, if you are using DHCP client software that overwrites then settings in etc resolved confirmation, you need to configure the DHCP clients by editing the client's configuration file. Example, configuring DHCP client software on a defined server. Backup. Number 2, edit. Number 3, if there is a line follower with only domain name server, remove that line. Number 4, if there is a line connecting domain name server with IP address, write down that the IP address for future reference. Number 5, replace that line with or add the following line for IPv4. Look, IPv4 or IPv6 picture, all nodes set. For IPv6 only, you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of the above IPv6 addresses. Number 6, save and setting. Number 7, restart any internet clients you are using. Number 8, tested that your setup is working correctly. See test your own setting. Okay, now another topic, Chrome OS. DNS settings are specified in the network section of the setting menu for the selected network connection. Example, changing DNS server settings on a Chrome OS 71. Number 1, open the setting menu. Number 2, in the network section, select the connection for which you want to configure Google Public DNS, for example. To change the setting for an internet connection, click the internet connect section. To change the setting for a wireless connection, we click on the Wi-Fi section and select the appropriate network name. Changing the DNS settings for a mobile data connection established with instant, that thing is not possible for mobile Wi-Fi hotspots that are manually set up. However, you can change the DNS settings using the instruction for a wireless connection. 3, expand the network section for the selected connection. Number 4, in the name server section for IPv4 section, the Google name server button, or alternatively select the custom name server button for and enter 8.8.8.8 and another 8.8.4.4. For IPv6, select the custom name server button and enter 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8888 and or mode 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8844. For IPv6 only, you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of the IPv6 addresses in the previous point. Number 5, click outside the network section to apply the settings. Number 6, test that your setup is working correctly. Use test your new settings. Number 7, repeat the procedures for additional network connection you want to change. Next topics 1, routers. Every routers uses a different user interface for configuring DNS server settings. We provide only the generic producers. For more information, please consult your router documentation. To change your settings on a router, number 1, in your browser, enter the IP address for your router. To view the router administration console, most routers are manufactured in use the default address such as 192.168.0.1 or 192.168.1.1 or 192.168 into 2 into 1 or 192 into 168 into 1 into 100. On once of them work or is not changed, try to find the default gateway address in the network settings plan or your settings. Number 2, when promoted, enter the password to edit network settings. Number 3, find the screen in which DNS server settings are specified. Number 4, if there are IP address specified in the field for the primary and secondary DNS service, written them down for future reference. Number 5, replace those addresses with the Google IP address for IPv4 8.8.8.8 and or 8.8.4.4. For IPv6 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8888 and or 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8844. For IPv6 only, you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of the IPv6 addresses in the previous point. Number 6, save and setting. Number 7, restart your browser. Number 8, test that your setup and working correctly. C, test your new setting. Some router use is square field for all 8 part of IPv6 addresses and cannot accept the IPv abbreviation signs tag for such file. Enter 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 0000 into 8 into 8888 or again and now new again 2001 into 4860 into 4860 0 into 0 into 0 into 8844. Expand that 0, enter it to 0000 if 4 hex digital are required. Another one, iOS. You can change DNS settings for on iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch with the following step. Number 1, go to setting Wi-Fi. Number 2, tap the icon next to the Wi-Fi network that you want to change DNS servers. For scroll down to find the DNS section and tap configuration DNS. Number 3, tap manual and add Google IP addresses optionally. You can also remove all default DNS servers in the listing. Point number 1 for IPv4 8.8.8 and or 8.8.4.4. Point number 2 for IPv6 2001 4860 into 4860 into 8888 and or 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8844. Switching break to automatic will restore the DSN server specified by the Wi-Fi network. Or another Android version, Android 9 Pie or higher, Android 9 supported private DNS, which user DNS over TLS or to provide security and privacy for your DNS queries. You can configure it that the following step. Number 1, go to setting network, advanced and privacy DNS. Number 2, select private DNS provider host name. Number 3, enter dns.google as the host name of the DNS provider. Number 4, click save. For more information, see the Android blog post announcing the future. Please note that in Android P, the default mode for private DNS and automatic choice means it uses the network specified DNS server and it attempt a TLS connection to port 853 before failing back to UDP on port 53. Older Android version devices running version older than Android 9 do not support DNS over TLS and cannot configure private DNS for all network. You can configure DNS for each individual Wi-Fi network you use. The requires configuration all network information manually and is only recommended for advanced user. Mobile or other device, DNS server are typically specified under advanced Wi-Fi settings. However, as every mobile device uses a different user interface or configuration, DNS server setting we provided only we genetic producer. For more information, please consult your mobile provider's documentation. To change your settings on mobile device, one go to the screen in which Wi-Fi setting are specified. To find the secret in which DSN service settings are specified. Number three, if there are IP address specified in the file field for the primary and secondary DNS servers, write them down or future reference. Number four, replace those addresses with the Google IP address. For example, for IPv4 8.8.8.8 and or 8.8.4.4. Another one for IPv6 2001 into 24860 into 4860 into 8888 and or another one 2001 into 4860 into 4860 into 8844. Another next one for IPv6 only you can use Google Public DNS 64 instead of the IPv6 addresses in the previous point. Number 5, 7 setting. Number 6, test your step. Setup is working correctly. C, test your new settings. Twist break your to your all DSN setting. If you had not previously configured any customized DSN servers, to twist break to your old setting in the Windows in which you specified the Google IP addresses, selected the option to enable obtaining DNS services addresses automatically and or delete the Google IP address. This relevant use settings to use your IPS default server. If you need to manually specify any addresses, use the producers able to specify the old IP addresses, restart the system in necessary. Thank you guys. Hopeful. Do you like my video? Please subscribe my YouTube channel and hit the like button and press the bell button.